Yo, 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 we're talking neighbors today, people. That's right, those lovely folks living a wall's thickness away. They can be your best friends or your worst enemies. Sometimes it feels like they signed up to be in your life's reality show, whether you cast them or not. Listen, a good neighborhood is like a good pair of sweatpants, comfortable, familiar, and always there for you. But, like sweatpants, things can get messy if you're not careful. We've all been there. You hear a weird noise at 3 a.m., and suddenly you're crafting conspiracy theories about your seemingly harmless neighbor, Bob. Remember Bob? He's the guy who always wears that Kiss the Cook apron, even when he's just microwaving popcorn. Yeah, that Bob. Suddenly he's a suspect in your late-night noise drama. It's amazing how quickly things can escalate, right? The truth is, living in close proximity to others can be a recipe for both heartwarming connections and epic clashes. We are social creatures by nature, but we also cherish our personal space and peace. And let's be real, sometimes those two desires collide faster than a shopping cart in a parking lot. Let's kick things off with a classic noise complaints. The sweet sound of, well, someone else's idea of a good time. Whether it's your neighbor's dog channeling its inner rock star at 2 a.m., or their love for leaf blowing at the crack of dawn, noise can be a major buzzkill. It's like they say, one person's music is another person's noise complaint waiting to happen. And don't even get me started on those folks who think their car alarm going off for 3 hours straight is a perfectly acceptable form of urban symphony. We've all been on both sides of this fence, haven't we? We've all blasted our favorite tunes a little too loud or hosted a party that went a tad too late. But hey, it's all fun and games until someone calls the cops. Or worse, the HOA. Look, I get it. Sometimes you just gotta let loose and jam out to some Beyoncé, but maybe keep it down a notch, especially if your next door neighbor is trying to study for their medical exams, so they can save your life one day when you inevitably trip over that pile of Amazon boxes you've been meaning to break down. Property lines, those invisible lines that somehow have the power to turn otherwise rational adults into territorial toddlers. It's like that moment when your sibling steps over the imaginary line, dividing your side of the back seat from theirs. Suddenly, it's World War III, complete with dramatic eye rolls and mumbled insults. One minute you're casually trimming your hedges, and the next you're locked in a staring contest with your neighbor Ethel, who's convinced your prize-winning rosebush is encroaching on her petunia patch. It's amazing how a few inches of disputed territory can escalate into a full-blown property rights showdown. And don't even get me started on fences. Those wooden warriors can be a source of more drama than an episode of The Real Housewives. Who knew a simple structure meant to mark boundaries could become a battleground for passive-aggressive notes, strategically placed garden gnomes, and, dare I say it, even the occasional over-the-fence shouting match? Hold up. Before we all grab our pitchforks and torches, let's talk about the real culprit behind many neighborhood feuds: miscommunication. That's right, folks. Sometimes the biggest battles are fought not with words, but with the lack thereof. We've all been there, right? You see your neighbor's trash can still sitting on the curb the day after pickup, and your mind immediately jumps to conclusions. They're so lazy, they don't even care about the neighborhood. But what if just maybe there's a perfectly reasonable explanation? What if their kid was sick, or they had a family emergency? We're so quick to assume the worst, to create narratives in our heads based on incomplete information. And once those narratives take root, it's hard to shake them loose. The truth is, most of us are just trying to do our best to navigate this crazy thing called life. And sometimes, our best involves accidentally blasting 90s boy band music at 3 a.m. or forgetting to bring in the trash cans on time. It happens. Okay, so we've established that neighbors can get on each other's nerves, but have you ever stopped to wonder we're so quick to turn into a bunch of feuding families? Well, my friends, it all boils down to a few basic human needs: the need for control, the need for belonging, and the need for a good night's sleep, which, let's be honest, is often threatened by our neighbor's love for late-night karaoke sessions. When we feel like our control is threatened, like when our neighbor's tree starts dropping leaves on our perfectly manicured lawn, we get defensive. When we feel like we don't belong, like when we're not invited to the neighborhood barbecue, we get resentful. And when we're sleep deprived, well, let's just say it's not pretty. Add to that the fact that we live in a world where everyone is stressed out, overworked, and glued to their screens. And it's no wonder we're all a little bit on edge. So the next time you find yourself ready to go full-on neighborhood watch on your neighbor, take a deep breath and ask yourself, is this really worth it? Or better yet, can I resolve this with a plate of freshly baked cookies? So how do we navigate the treacherous waters of neighborly relations without resorting to passive-aggressive post-it notes or worse, lawsuits? Fear not, my friends. Here are a few tips to help you keep the peace, or at least a ceasefire, on your street. 1. Talk it out. This may seem obvious, but you'd be surprised how many neighborhood feuds could be avoided with a simple conversation. Remember Bob, our Kiss the Cook enthusiast? Maybe he's unaware that his late-night blender serenades are keeping you up at night. A friendly chat might be all it takes to resolve the issue. 2. Pick your battles. Listen, life is too short to sweat the small stuff. So, your neighbor's prize-winning pumpkin is blocking your view of the sunset? Let it go. Choose your battles wisely and save your energy for the things that truly matter, like advocating for better public transportation or perfecting your grandma's secret cookie recipe. 3. Embrace the art of compromise. We can't always get what we want, but with a little bit of compromise, we can often find a solution that works for everyone. So, maybe you agree to only mow your lawn on the weekends, and your neighbor promises to keep their dog from using your prize-winning roses as a fire hydrant. It's all about finding that sweet spot where everyone feels heard and respected. Let's face it, folks, life is better with a little help from our friends and our neighbors. When we know the people who live around us, we're more likely to look out for each other, to lend a helping hand when needed, and to generally make our little corner of the world a more pleasant place to live. So how do we go from being strangers who share a property line to a community that actually, communes? Here are a few ideas. 1. Break bread together. Nothing brings people together like good food. Host a potluck, fire up the grill for a barbecue, or simply invite your neighbors over for a casual get-together. Food has a way of breaking down barriers and fostering connections. 2. Start a neighborhood watch, and by watch, I mean book club or gardening group. Okay, maybe neighborhood watch is a bit intense, but the idea is to find common interests and create opportunities for people to connect. Start a book club, a gardening group, or even a walking club. The possibilities are endless. 3. Be a good neighbor, y'all. This one seems obvious, but it bears repeating. Be respectful of your neighbor's space, be mindful of noise levels, and be willing to lend a helping hand when you see someone struggling. Remember, a little kindness goes a long way. Look, I'm not saying we all have to be best friends with our neighbors. Let's be real, some of them are better off admired from a distance. But striving for peaceful coexistence? Now that's something we can all get behind. When we live in harmony with our neighbors, everyone benefits. We reduce stress, build a stronger sense of community, and maybe, just maybe, we even get to borrow that cup of sugar without feeling like we're signing a peace treaty. So the next time you're tempted to engage in a little neighborly warfare, remember this. It's always better to be the house on the block known for its killer cookies and friendly waves than the one with the overgrown lawn and the reputation for calling the cops on kids selling lemonade. And that, my friends, is the story of Neighbors. A tale as old as time itself, filled with laughter, tears, and the occasional passive-aggressive lawn gnome. But hey, isn't that what makes life interesting? So go forth, be good neighbors, and remember, we're all in this together whether we like it or not. Now if you'll excuse me, I hear Bob's dog practicing its opera again.